So I mentioned this week that I am writing something on the two Allman Brothers Arista records, the really truly worst artistic decisions the Allman Brothers made in their entire career after Juicy Carter sitting in at Fillmore East. Right now, I'm listening to this fucking great record I got, the Kid Ory story, Storyville Nights, Kid Ory Band playing tunes made famous by Jelly Roll Morton and his Red Hot Peppers, Verve Records, 1962, manufactured and distributed in Canada by Quality Records Limited. So this is a Canadian edition. Honestly, I can't remember where I picked this record up, but listening to it reminds me why Juicy Carter was such a terrible artistic decision to sit in with the Allman Brothers Band. And here's a whole lot more on that. Vitamin ABB, trust me, I'm a doctor.
He plays the two songs the early show, and I think he only plays in Hotlanta he does only plays Hotlanta Friday night, the Friday late show. And then Saturday, not at all. And, what I put in the book, Jeff, I mean, if he doesn't do that, we don't have that note perfect Liz Reed that is just, I mean, it's this glorious piece of momentary composition, mournful, beautiful, evokes all kinds of things in your mind. And is just those six guys pushing and pulling. It's a gorgeous piece of music. And we wouldn't have that unless they decided they were going to go re-record it somewhere. Right.
It's such an interesting decision, though. And again, this is things you think about, but it was such an interesting decision to build to that point the stakes that everybody in the band knew, and then let's get this guy who's never played with us before or rarely played with us before to sit in the most important shows of our life.
Yeah, and Tom Doucette gets a lot of solo time on that. This is the
He
nominal
does.
This harmonica player player Tom.
Yeah.
Thom, Thom Doucette, but he was, kind of a nominal seventh member, never wanted to join the band. But he gets a lot of time too, right on that record. So they were sharing a little stage time, but I agree, Jeff, like it doesn't make a lot of sense. And then you and I talked about this. You were the first one to put it this way. He goes, why not King Curtis and the Kingpins?
Yeah.
Why not the Memphis Horns? Like Jesus, why would you get and this guy's, he's not really an R&B guy. He's not really a jazzer. It just doesn't work. And, there were two other guys playing the night before so it was even worse.
So so why is it an interpersonal relationship? Is it,
in 68, I found a letter, this letter from J-Mo to Twigs Linden. Twigs Linden was Percy Sledge's road manager, Little Richard's road manager. Actually, no. Yeah, he was, and then Percy Sledge's road manager. So J-Mo was in Sledge's band, and he and Twigs was from Macon, stayed in touch. Twigs became the first Allman Brothers tour manager, also killed a Buffalo club owner in 1970 in a psychotic drug-infused rage, and was found not guilty by reason of insanity. But I just have to say it. Let me move on, because Twigs, J-Mo writes this letter to Twigs, and he says to Twigs, apparently they talked about, Jeff, I think you knew this, after NATRA was the Miami convention. Walden's like, I'm going to put my own rhythm section together, and I'm going to do the Muscle Shoals, Memphis thing here at Red Wall, So he's going to put this band together, and J-Mo's the only one who shows up to be in the band. And but I guess Twigs had sent something to J-Mo wherever he was, and J-Mo wrote him back, and he said it's literally, I got it in here, but it says, dig, man, about that studio gig, and in J-Mo's handwriting, beautiful handwriting. And he goes, I've also got this other guy for the band, and Juicy and Fat. He's J-Mo, he likes this guy and wants him to be a part of it. So he's more than a friend to J-Mo and bandmate. He's aware of the guy's chops. J-Mo swears to God it would have worked. I think every time you listen to it after that point, it does.
So I was just listening to the complete 1971 Fillmore East recordings that the Allman Brothers released. I think it was like 2014. Geez, 11 years ago. It's got 4 shows from the Fillmore East sessions, the Friday early and late shows, the Saturday early late shows, and then it's got the closing set, the one was for the private audience. Well, it's very interesting to me on that first one, and I've been listening to it a lot because I'm about to write on it. First set starts out smoking, Duane announces that they're recording an album, and they bust into Statesboro Blues, Done Somebody Wrong. They're doing really great. And then they decide to bring up Juicy Carter, which frankly is the worst decision I think probably Duane ever made in a musical context. They brought Juicy Carter in to guest on In Memory of Elizabeth Reed. Maybe they weren't planning on recording In Memory of Elizabeth Reed for the album at Fillmore East. But if they were, they blew it. If that had been the only take that they had recorded, obviously they had two others. One is the one that we know, the Transcendent one. It's awful. It's just awful. My buddy Doug Peaches, he's challenged me to listen more to it and try to hear the band pushing behind and all that. And I can't not hear Juicy Carter's terrible horn lines throughout that first version of In Memory of Elizabeth Reed. Interestingly enough, this is the show that Johnny Winter watched from side stage, the show that caused him to go backstage and say, hey, we're switching positions and the Allman Brothers are going to close from here on out. And, you know, they got 45 minutes on tape, at least that's what made it onto the box set, from the first show Friday night. And a little bit more in the second show. I think it's like 60 minutes, maybe a little bit more of actual music on tape after they switched. And then, of course, why we have those super extended versions, particularly Mountain Jam and Whip and Post from the Saturday Late Show, is because they had switched slots. Read a quick little piece from the Book of Duane, Play All Night. For the March 11th show, Duane had invited a 3-person horn section, including J-Mo's friend Juicy Carter, to guest on a few songs. Following the March 11th early show, Dowd told Duane to cancel the experiment. This isn't the time to try this out, he argued. Dowd was adamant, and correct, that the unrehearsed, slightly out-of-tune horn section did not belong on the album. Carter demonstrated little feel for the Allman Brothers Band music, and although he joined the band at least twice more over the weekend, none of the appearances made the final album. Convincing Duane to excise the out-of-place jazz horn section from the At Fillmore East sessions gave the world a note-perfect, horn-free In Memory of Elizabeth Reed that is a highlight of the record and among the best pieces of music the Allman Brothers ever recorded. So let's talk a little bit more about probably the worst artistic decision in Duane Allman's career, having Juicy Carter join the Allman Brothers Band while they were recording their make or break third album at Fillmore East. He was unrehearsed, didn't ever, to me, anytime I've heard him with the band, sound like he had any feel for the Allman Brothers music. He was trying to do something. He was playing out of tune. I imagine he was playing out of tune because he couldn't hear himself and he was unfamiliar with the music. We have versions of him on 3 songs that weekend. Hot Lana, In Memory of Elizabeth Reed, and You Don't Love Me. And 2 of those songs, Hot Lana and You Don't Love Me, they were recording for At Fillmore East. So Tom Dowd saying, whoa. I mean, he did the first night, it was a 3-piece horn section. That would have been Thursday night. They had one show they played Thursday night. Friday early show, they only had Juicy play. And I think he played a little bit in Friday late show as well. And none of that stuff made at Fillmore East. The puzzling piece that my buddy Jeff from Bluest Tape pointed out to me a long time ago, just my man knows his sidemen, is why didn't they get a rhythm and blues horn section for at Fillmore East? Why use this, jazz guy who actually had played in rhythm and blues? J-Mo knew him from Percy Sledge's band. And so I was like, why not King Curtis, right? Why not King Curtis and the Kingpins? And King Curtis was a good friend of Duane's. And I was like, maybe he was recording with Aretha Franklin because they recorded the Fillmore West album March 5 and 7, Aretha's Fillmore West album. And that's also where King Curtis's Fillmore West album came from. And then it got me sort of like, okay, what else was King Curtis doing? Now that, the following week, 11, right after they had just recorded the Fillmore West record. That's a record that Duane mentions, the You Don't Love Me Soul Serenade that he does that was on the box set, Dreams box set. 3 months after King Curtis recorded Fillmore West with Aretha Franklin, he go to play the Montreux Jazz Festival. And there, somebody comes up with the pairing of the New Orleans blues pianist, champion Jack Dupree, who's King Curtis and the Kingpins. King Curtis and Champion Jack Dupree blues at Montreux. The Kingpins include King Curtis on tenor and alto sax, Cornell Dupree guitar, Jerry Jamot on bass, Oliver Jackson on drums. You know them from Memphis Soul Stew at Fillmore West, and then Champion Jack Dupree on piano and vocals. It's a phenomenal record, really, really great record. Super ad hoc. I bought it for $10 on a whim at a record store, and I didn't realize it was something that was like popular. It should have been looking for. This is how good sit-ins work live. King Curtis could have nailed the horn parts on Fillmore East. He would have made You Don't Love Me just outstanding. And it's not like Duane and King Curtis didn't record together. They did play live shows together. I have no idea if he ever joined the Allman Brothers, but he did sit in with Duane and Delaney and Bonnie. Joel Doran, the very famous jazz producer from Atlantic. There's no rehearsal. I think they rehearsed while they were setting up the mics. Jack Dupree sang with Curtis. They weren't really blues players. They were rhythm and blues players. The spirit was great. Jack Dupree is one of those who gets up in front of an audience and he just nails them. And this is where Tim writes, it may be this specific album that ultimately defines the depth and breadth of the true global talent of King Curtis and also of his Kingpins. Without a moment of rehearsal, the Atlantic tape rolled, and what is created is nothing short of spectacular. All right, back to the topic of sit-ins. Let's talk about that a little bit. I think that King Curtis would have been a phenomenal sit-in with the Allman Brothers when they recorded at Fillmore East. He was available, maybe. They recorded at Fillmore West. Aretha's at Fillmore West, and Curtis is at Fillmore West the week before the Allman Brothers recorded at Fillmore East. Many Allman Brother fans are kind of introduced to King Curtis with Duane's elegy to him when he adds Soul Serenade into You Don't Love Me, that was first released on the box set Dreams. And it got me to thinking about horns and the Allman Brothers band. And the Allman Brothers didn't do it a lot until Warren Haynes rejoined the band in 2001. There's a fantastic version of True Gravity with Doc Severinsen and the Tonight Show band that I'm going to do a piece on eventually, because it's a really cool story about how Tom Dowd got involved. So the Allman Brothers didn't do it a whole lot, but horns work really well with the Allman Brothers music. Greg Allman tour, when Greg went out for the Laid Back tour, he had 2 trumpets and a baritone sax. Randall Bramlett also played sax on that, and of course 24-piece orchestra, the coup de grace. But I really want to talk about is the greatest, it's really not a sit-in, it's a rehearsed band, but a ramshackle rehearsed band, which is from Dickie Betts's Richard Betts American Music Show, December 14th, 1974 at Winterland. And I've got it on my YouTube channel. I'll put that up here. 41 minutes of psychedelic Western swing glory. It's phenomenal. On that tour, Dickie had, I'm going to pronounce the middle guy's name, and I don't want to butcher it, but Dickie had 3 horns on that tour. This is the program from it. Just this huge band on stage. He eventually adds a second drummer as well. But I think every solo band, except for anything Butch did, had horns. So Dickie took horns out in 74. He didn't do it again, I don't think, until 2000 when the divorce happened with the Allman Brothers band. Greg brought horns out, had a horn section regularly. His jazz band had a horn section. Listen to 12/14/74 Winterland, Dickie Betts, in memory of Elizabeth Reed. It's glorious. The right horns would have fit perfectly on at Fillmore East. Juicy Carter was not that choice. Vitamin A.